Get ready for the biggest news in entertainment. Netflix CEO Ted Sarandos just dropped a bombshell, making it crystal clear that the company is not interested in bidding on whole seasons of sports, including the NFL. We dive deep into why this strategic pivot is shaking up the streaming landscape and what it means for fans across the globe.
Stop using your finger for notes, sketches, and edits. This Jam Jake stylus pen gives your iPad a smoother, more precise writing feel with palm rejection so your hand can rest naturally on the screen. It charges fast, works for hours, and comes with replacement tips. Perfect for school, work, or creative projects. Check the link in the comments to grab it on Amazon.
Next up, we look at the massive industry shakeup involving Paramount's guidance. We examine the David Ellison-led $111 billion takeover of Warner Bros. Discovery and what this merger truly means for competition, especially when Paramount Plus and HBO Max are being asked if they have the scale to compete against giants like Netflix and Amazon. Now, let's talk massive economic impact. Netflix is claiming staggering figures, touting over $325 billion in economic contribution and 425,000 jobs created worldwide from its productions. We explore how this global investment is reshaping the Hollywood ecosystem and what it signals for the future of content creation. And finally, we turn to the next big creative push. Netflix is feeling incredibly bright with filmmaking creature Olivia Newman, as she teams up with the writer-director of Remarkably Bright Creatures to land the rights to the highly acclaimed novel The Remembered Soldier. Stay with us for the full story. Netflix CEO Ted Sarandos firmly reiterated the streaming service's strategy, emphasizing that the company is not pursuing season-long sports packages, including the NFL. Speaking on Fox Business Network, Sarandos clarified that Netflix focuses on one-off, marquee events designed to add incremental value to its existing library of shows, movies, games, and podcasts. This stance comes amid increasing federal scrutiny regarding sports fragmentation on streaming platforms. When confronted by Maria Bartiromo about fan frustration over games migrating from linear television to streaming, Sarandos pointed out that most viewers still rely on expensive pay television packages, framing the shift to streaming as a natural evolution of consumer demand. He argued that offering affordable access to sports, movies, and other content for a low monthly fee is an amazing proposition for consumers and beneficial for leagues that can leverage the competitive bidding environment. When pressed about regulatory concerns regarding antitrust exemptions under the Sports Broadcasting Act of 1961, Sarandos maintained that this model is part of the competitive landscape. He suggested that the current situation mirrors the shift from traditional television to pay television, positioning streaming as a technological evolution. Netflix has maintained its limited approach, featuring only select NFL games, MLB games, and boxing matches rather than full-season rights. However, this strategy is criticized by sports fans, who find the sporadic availability of events makes the subscription price difficult to justify compared to the cable bundle. The current arrangement allows leagues to generate incremental revenue through small inventory sales, while streamers capitalize on dedicated sports fan subscriptions, though the ultimate cost remains borne by the consumer who continues to pay for live sports. Paramount is fiercely defending its proposed $111 billion takeover of Warner Bros. Discovery, arguing that the merger will inject new competitive energy into the entertainment ecosystem rather than reduce competition. Paramount's guidance is actively lobbying California Attorney General Rob Bonta regarding the deal, which is currently under antitrust review, as Bonta has raised concerns about potential negative impacts on prices, wages, job creation, and market choice. Paramount Chief Legal Officer Makan Delrahim issued a letter to the Attorney General reiterating the company's commitment to movie theaters and audiences, asserting that the combined entity will drive improvements for theaters and committing to a minimum of 30 films released annually. Delrahim also cautioned that Paramount Plus and HBO Max, operating separately, lack the necessary scale to effectively compete against dominant subscription video on demand, SVOD, giants like Netflix, Disney+, Hulu, and Amazon Prime Video. Citing Nielsen estimates for December 2025, Delrahim highlighted that the top 3 streamers capture 65% of U.S. SVOD viewership, compared to Paramount's 5.8% and WBD's 5%. If the merger proceeds, Paramount plans to integrate Paramount Plus and HBO Max. Despite the merger, Delrahim downplayed the impact on theatrical distribution, estimating that the combined Paramount and WBD studios represent only about 25% of the domestic box office, with numerous other distributors competing. Delrahim contrasted the current strategy with Disney's acquisition of 21st Century Fox assets, noting that Paramount has already significantly increased its theatrical output, committing to 30-plus films post-merger, unlike Disney's earlier reduction in theatrical releases. He suggested Paramount's motivation for acquiring WBD is maximizing output to compete with larger rivals, whereas Disney's motivation was primarily about gaining control of Hulu. However, Paramount also acknowledged that simply increasing the volume of theatrical releases does not guarantee higher revenue, as Q1 2026 earnings projected significantly lower theatrical revenue year-over-year due to lower average box office returns per film. Shareholders had overwhelmingly approved the Paramount deal last month, though it still requires approval from European regulators. Furthermore, while the merger cleared a milestone with the Department of Justice following the expiration of the HSR waiting period, the DOJ retains latitude to challenge the deal, with officials suggesting political factors could impede a fast-track approval process. Streaming giant Netflix is aggressively promoting the significant economic footprint of its global film and television productions ahead of its upcoming upfront presentation to the advertising industry. In a new report released Tuesday, Netflix claims its programming has generated over $325 billion for the global economy and created more than 425,000 jobs worldwide, stemming from filming across more than 4,500 cities and towns. The company further noted its substantial investment, citing over $135 billion poured into its movies and shows. Co-chief executive Ted Sarandos addressed the recent industry trends in a post, signaling Netflix's commitment to continued investment. He stated that while other entertainment companies are scaling back, Netflix is increasing its involvement, emphasizing a focus on nurturing relationships with creators, supporting dependent communities, and engaging with its viewership for the next decade. Highlighting regional success, Netflix specifically pointed to its contribution in California. The legal drama, The Lincoln Lawyer, for instance, reportedly injected over $425 million into the Golden State's economy and employed more than 4,300 cast and crew members across its 4 seasons, utilizing over 50 filming locations in Los Angeles, including iconic spots like Dodger Stadium and Grand Central Market. Filming in Los Angeles has become a focal point in the television industry, especially during recent upfront presentations in New York, as California competes fiercely to retain local production activity against other states and international markets. This trend was underscored by recent announcements, such as actor Jake Johnson's confirmation that NBC's new show, Sunset PI, would film in Los Angeles, and the planned filming of the Fox Baywatch reboot in the area to utilize recognizable locations in Venice and Santa Monica. Netflix is bolstering its creative slate with Olivia Newman, the writer-director behind the acclaimed hit Remarkably Bright Creatures. Newman is set to take on the project of adapting the critically lauded novel The Remembered Soldier by Anjet Donge for a feature film. The streaming giant has reportedly secured the rights following a competitive bidding process. Newman will serve as both the writer and director, collaborating with her previous producers, Brian Unkellis and Peter Craig, who will continue their work through their Night Owl Stories banner. The novel, a Dutch historical work set after the First World War, has garnered significant literary acclaim, being a finalist for the National Book Award and placed on the International Booker Prize longlist. The story centers on a shell-shocked veteran suffering from amnesia and Julianne Coppins, a woman who claims him as her husband. The narrative builds tension around the veracity of their relationship while exploring profound themes of identity, memory, and the human desire to be known. The novel has been widely praised, earning recognition from publications such as the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal, among others. This adaptation marks Newman's fourth book adaptation as a director and her second as a writer, continuing a pattern of successful dramatic adaptations, including her work on Where the Crawdads Sing. Gregory Cohen of Night Owl Stories is slated to executive produce the project. The deal for The Remembered Soldier was finalized by Hotchkiss Daily and Associates on behalf of Hewitt Jeveridge Passage and New Vessel.